Okay, we're setting up the live stream here, folks. Bear with me. That's YouTube. We're going to get Rumble going here. All right, just bear with me, folks. We're live streaming on YouTube and Rumble. We're going to get the show started here in just a minute. I want to confirm that everything is cooperating. All right, that's showing live. We're good there. And we'll make sure the Rumble stream is going as well. Looks like it is. Excellent. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Relief Valve podcast. I didn't get to do the Sunday Shitbag Roundup yesterday, so this is a special Monday Shitbag Roundup. And there's our focus today is going to be obviously the bombings in Iran. So there's a lot to kind of go through here, so we'll jump right in and start talking about it. First, it started with Israel hitting Iran. I think this has been a process, in my opinion, that has started with, because you've got to rewind the tape on this a little bit. It started with Israel going after Palestine and specifically going after Hamas, right? And then Hezbollah getting involved as well. And kind of Israel systematically eliminating its enemies that it's surrounded by. And you can't necessarily blame them, right? If America was in Israel's position and we had terrorists to the north of us, terrorists to the south of us, that type of deal, what might we be willing to do? So there's that, playing devil's advocate. But so it starts with weakening Hamas, weakening Hezbollah, so they're not in fighting shape anymore. And then it escalated to going after Iran and for them leading attacks against Iran. Now, they claimed that their intelligence said that Iran was a couple of weeks away from refining enough to start making nuclear explosives to one degree or another. They were making a lot of progress. And now, of course, there's debate back and forth about this. And they're saying that, people are saying, no, there wasn't enough evidence. Other people are. The Nuclear Commission that goes in and does regular searches of the Iranian facilities did come back and say they had concerns that Iran was making a lot more progress than they were realizing. And of course, the nuclear commission has been having a lot of issues actually getting full access and being able to see things the way that they need to be seen. Iran hides a lot of its progress, or hides is to the best of its ability, from that nuclear team that goes in to see if they're actually playing by the rules of it all. But it starts with, it culminates with Iran hitting nuclear sites Israel hitting nuclear sites in Iran retaliating by sending strikes to Israel, which ended up starting to overwhelm their Iron Dome system. It's not meant to take out as many as Iran was sending. So there have been strikes in Israel. There have been damage, apartment buildings, hospitals, etc., because Iran is bombing indiscriminately. But Now it's turning into a much larger thing. Obviously, as you can see, the U.S. ended up we ended up putting the U.S. Nimitz carrier group, and with the historical significance of the Nimitz being by Iran, I knew that there was going to be something more than what it was. The Nimitz was there in 1979 during the Iranian Revolution in order to rescue the American hostages that were in the U.S. consulate at that time. So the Nimitz was there for that, and now it's back for this. So there was a historical significance for it, and I didn't think Trump arbitrarily chose that. I think that was a message that something else was going to be going down here, and of course it turns out that that was the case. So let's take a look at where we're at right now with this most recent attack. And now let's break this down and explain this a little bit. Of course, the arguments were going back and forth between Iran and the United States. People wanted to come to the table and negotiate and work this all out. And those were failing. And then, of course, Trump was tweeting and saying, well, you know what? I'm just going to let Israel do whatever it wants to do. I'm not going to get involved and get in the way if you guys aren't willing to sit down and have serious talks about ending this nuclear program. So that kind of degraded to Trump saying, in 2 weeks, I'm going to make a decision. That was last week. So many people believe, and I do too, that this was essentially a delay tactic, that he already had a plan in place that had already been approved. The media was reporting on that, and that they were just putting all the chess pieces in place. Then you saw the bombers, the B-52 bombers, fly to Guam, which was a diversionary tactic because the bombers that actually hit Iran left from Missouri. So everyone thought, oh, okay, those bombers are being moved, the ones going to Guam. They're very slowly going to make their way to another base, and from that base, they're going to hop to Iran. So the people were trying to come up with this time frame, and it turns out that secretly the stealth bombers flew out of Missouri and did a 24-hour trip, something like that. I think it'll say it in this video. I guess they had a small bathroom and a cooler with snacks and stuff in the stealth bomber while they were making this. Some new reports I read today. And they dropped bunker busters and multiple nuclear sites. But so check out this video here, and let's go over that and see the breakdown.
We're now back home in Missouri.
Missouri, I'm sorry, excuse me. Let me get back to that.
A post last night for a job well done, exclamation point, all caps. We're learning more about the many levels of deception and decoy. It was like a James Bond movie that went into this mission. The real strike force went east toward the heavily fortified nuclear facility at Fort Al. Those B-2 bombers dropped a dozen bunker buster bombs on Fort Al alone, each weighing 30,000 pounds, and they never once encountered enemy fire. Chief National Correspondent, Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon. I tell you, you just can't stop being wowed by what we pulled off, Jennifer.
An absolutely flawless mission. But Harris, U.S. military forces are now on high alert across the Middle East, expecting an imminent response from Iran. The U.S. Navy actively planning its response should Iran's Revolutionary Guard Navy mine the Strait of Hormuz. Few here at the Pentagon think this is over, despite Saturday's flawless military strike on Iran's 3 nuclear facilities, a plan that has been honed and practiced since 2008. U.S. B-2 pilots have been practicing this 37-hour round-trip flight to the Middle East for years. The 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs tested against hardened targets as recently as last year.
This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military. As the president clearly said last night, no other military in the world could have done this.
125 U.S. warplanes, each B-2 refueled in midair 3 to 4 times each way on the nonstop 18-hour flight from Missouri. An air refueling bridge across the Mediterranean and Middle East. 14 GBU-57 bunker buster bombs among the 75 satellite-guided munitions dropped, and 30 Tomahawk missiles fired from an Ohio-class submarine 400 miles away, which stayed in the air 1 hour and 40 minutes, time to drop after after the last B-2 struck in Fordo. Captain Todd Sawhill.
Yeah, that was interesting as well that we utilized a submarine in this attack.
An intelligence targeting officer focused on this problem for years was asked whether the Tomahawks could destroy Isfahan and the deep tunnels where the Iranian uranium conversion takes place.
No, in that case, it's extremely limited because those weapons are really designed to go after surface targets. They don't have much penetration capability. The problem is, like you mentioned, the mountain, which is deep.
So you'll see this map right here. Isfahan, Natanz, Fordo is the largest and most well-fortified nuclear processing facility. This one is very far underground and spread out over a large area. And in addition to that, Iran used special bunker buster resistant concrete, so reinforced concrete, because Iran knew we had these weapons and they reinforced that whole area on purpose. So that's where you heard the talk of a tactical nuke being used and that discussion being thrown around, because the Department of Defense and others were concerned that the bunker busters would not be able to penetrate specifically Fordo as much. I think Natanz and Isfahan were more achievable, but Fordo was the really tough nut to crack. And they're claiming that since the strikes, there's massive damage at all three locations. But I'm not sure that we have. Thank you, Matt. I don't think we have enough information that Fordo has been completely destroyed. Partially damaged, maybe, but they could still be functional.
Deep under hard granite and unreachable by conventional munitions, to include the GBU-57.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Isfahan is arguably a tougher target, Harris, than Fordo. The U.S. will be using signals intelligence and other means to sniff for nuclear particles at the sites, along with Israeli human intelligence on the ground to give the final bomb damage assessment, Harris.
Yeah, and the world awaits to see what that will hold. Jennifer, we have breaking news right now, and it's partially on what you were talking about. Qatar's foreign minister now has just announced it is shutting down its airspace to all commercial flights indefinitely. And we know just a few minutes ago that the U.S. issued a shelter-in-place order for Americans in Qatar. What does all of this tell you?
Well, there's very significant intelligence and a warning that Iran could strike at any time, an imminent threat to Qatar. Of course, Qatar is where Al Udeid is. That's the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. Normally, there would be 10,000 U.S. troops stationed there. Last week, we reported that most of the aircraft had been moved from Al Udeid. However, those missiles, cruise and ballistic, short and medium range from Iran would take just a few minutes to reach Qatar, and there's also the possibility of swarming drones. So right now, high alert inside Qatar. We've seen the warnings at the U.S. Embassy as well as at other embassies across Qatar.
And additionally, there's some other breaking news here that came a little earlier this morning. And let me get back to this. Iran did end up attacking a base. So here it is. It's coming from the Daily Mail. Iran fires 6 missiles at a U.S. airbase in retaliation for Trump bombing. Iran has launched 6 missiles at the United States' biggest base in the Middle East after Iran threatened to unleash strikes on the American military in response to President Trump bombing nuclear labs over the weekend. Aerial defenses were activated shortly after a credible threat alert was issued to the Al Udeid base in Qatar, which is another reason Qatar has closed its airspace currently, which hosts 10,000 U.S. troops as well as over 100 aircraft, strategic bombers, and tankers. It comes as Iran warned the United States will directly pay for strikes on its nuclear facilities, rather than standing behind Israel, with the Islamic Republic prepared for a war lasting up to 2 years. Oh boy, look at you putting big boy pants on. 2 years? A senior Iranian official told reporters. Tehran's mission to the UN said the U.S. and Israel, as well as the United Kingdom, France, and the International Atomic Energy Agency, those are the ones that have to check on the progress of Iran's nuclear facilities. The Atomic Energy Agency. Director personally will all bear full responsibility for the death of innocent civilians in Iran. No innocent civilians have been killed. They've been hitting military targets only, so it's Iranian bullshit propaganda. The world is now bracing for Tehran's response after the Trump administration used 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs to hit its nuclear facilities on Saturday night. The U.S. leader sparked Iranian fury when he raised the prospect of a regime change on Sunday, with Iranian state media warning that up to 50,000 American soldiers would be returned to Washington in coffins. I mean, and we're going to get to the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, and these other conservative grifters that are talking about, oh, well, why don't we just leave Iran alone? What has Iran ever done to us? How about saying that they're going to kill 50,000 Americans? And I mean, that's not even the half of it, but how about we're going to kill 50,000 Americans and send them in coffins and body bags back to Washington? That threat not enough for you guys? Iranian media then reported that Israel was carrying out new strikes on the Fordo nuclear facilities today, which means Fordo has not been completely destroyed, or there would be no point in hitting it, unless they're trying to follow up and make sure it's completely decimated. But it looks like Fordo is still hanging in there, with Israeli media saying the IDF was targeting an access road at the site. Israel also launched an attack on regime targets in Tehran, with hundreds of members of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said to have been killed in a huge wave of strikes. And by the way, this Iranian, the Revolutionary Guard, I mean, these guys are all scumbags that absolutely hurt and take advantage of the Iranian people. Let's continue with this update here.
I'm so glad you're on with us at this moment, because following a U.S. security alert for U.S. nationals in Qatar out of an abundance of caution, we've recommended that British nationals in Qatar also shelter in place until further notice. So this is ramping up, and what we do know is our military is at the ready. They've been pulling into place for a couple of weeks now even. Jennifer, thank you very much. Always appreciate your reporting. More on the breaking news out of that region. KT McFarland served as Deputy National Security Advisor during President Trump's first administration. So hitting our troops in that region, Iran has done so many times before, over 200 times under President Biden. It is time we respond. What do you foresee just out of these warnings from Qatar?
Well, Iran's going to retaliate. The question is, how are they going to retaliate, and how successful will they be? I mean, the most they could do is to try to take out U.S. forces or attack U.S. forces in the region. But as you pointed out, we're ready for that. We've brought more assets into the region to defend our bases, our people. We've taken civilian dependents out of the region, so to make a smaller target, if you will. And we've also, particularly Israel, has degraded the capability of Iran to have those kind of attacks. So we're ready, but we're expecting to take the blow, but we're ready. I mean, Iran could also go after Israeli facilities in the region or bomb Israel again. But again, their ability to do so has been greatly reduced. We know they're going to do something. The question is what, and would it trigger the response that President Trump has talked about? You know, they've got to all be nervous. I mean, they've shown that Donald Trump has shown that he's not a patsy. He's not going to believe that, oh, well, we feel, we want to negotiate. He's going to do what he has to do to protect Americans.
And what I hear you getting at is they have to be really careful when they make this next move. I mean, it's like walking on toothpicks on top of a lily pad. You can't be too heavy-footed or you'll go into water and you don't know how deep it is. I mean, Trump is willing to do what is necessary, exactly. Right? I mean, it's just that tricky. I have parents from the South, so I have a lot of those little sayings. But look, what you're saying is they've got to try to hit us, but not hit us too hard. I don't know if they can pull that off. Many of their military commanders were taken out by Israel.
And the ones that remain know that if they, they could be taken out as well. I mean, it's pretty clear that Mossad has thoroughly penetrated the Iranian military, the Iranian civilian leadership. And if they try to do something that would, especially something that would cause loss of American life, they might as well pull the trigger on their own heads. What President Trump was interesting when he's talked about regime change. Now, regime change in the George W. Bush, Barack Obama sense is American Marines go in, we get rid of the guy, we put our own government in, we try to figure out how they should become a modern American democracy. And it's never worked. It didn't work in Afghanistan, didn't work in Iraq, didn't work in Libya. President Trump has said to the Iranian people, look, you should have leaders who make your country great again. It's up to you. And he said consistently throughout his 2 terms that it's up to the people to decide their own country. You decide what kind of a government you want, what leaders you want, how you worship your God. It's up to you. If you want to do regime change, that's on you, but we might applaud it if you do this in the case of Iran.
So a few minutes ago when Ambassador Danone was here, he was telling me, and it seems like a point of desperation, we were both agreeing off camera, and then the conversation ensued. He said that they are hiring prisoners coming out of jails in Israel. Iran is doing this, trying to find the angriest among them to see if they can flip them as assets and give them menial tasks, he said. They'll send them, take a picture over here, you get a little bit of change for that, until they work them up into doing something worse.
That's an act of desperation, right? The Ayatollah, we know, is in hiding. He already has decided he's going to be a martyr. He's 86 years old. He's dying of cancer. What a great way to go out. He's already designated 3 people who would be his successors. But you have to wonder what's the conversation.
So you see this map here. You've got the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet right here. Qatar. The UAE, the Al-Dhafar Air Base. You've got Iran right here, Iraqi Al-Assad Air Base. My assumption is that update that I gave you about Iran launching missiles, like they didn't specifically say the American base in that article. So my guess is going to be it was the Al-Assad Air Base. You've also got Kuwait in the Al-Salem Air Base, and then the Al-Tanf Garrison in Syria. So if they're launching on the closest one, you're either hitting Al-Salem in Kuwait or you're hitting Al-Assad in Iraq. Chances are, because there were alerts in Iraq when I was kind of doing updates and concerns about launches in Iraq, that it was likely Iraq that they launched on, but it could be Kuwait. I'm waiting for updates for exactly what base was hit or attempted to hit
within the leadership group of Iran. Because of the generals looking at each other and say, I've had this job for 48 hours now. My predecessor was assassinated. I want to keep this job. Did I sign up for this? Did I sign up for martyrdom? And maybe, as President Trump says, the Iranian people want to make Iran great again. President Trump's offering an opportunity to come to the negotiating table and extend the hand of freedom and peace.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Iran looks for enemies within the countries that it would like to have death of.
Yeah.
KT McFarland, great to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. Outnumbered.
Okay, so let's move on to the other updates after this. This is Asmund Gold taking a look at Iran, and then before I get to that, you know what? Let's do this one, and then we'll move on. A little bit of this anyway, because it's almost 20 minutes. I don't want to do the whole thing.
We just got brand new details about Operation Midnight Hammer from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
We got screenshots
here at the Magic Wall to break this all down, and for about what we know is retired Colonel Cedric Layton. Colonel, thank you so much for being here. Take us through.
So Asmund Gold, for anyone that's not familiar with him, He's a prominent YouTuber on Twitch and Discord and all of that. He does stuff with video games and stuff, and also politics. He's got a massive following. He's one of the top content creators, and he's got really good perspectives on everything as well. I follow him online myself. He's a smart guy.
This mission, because it had been in the planning for quite some time.
It really has, Manu, and this is the graphic that the DoD provided us with this. So they've been planning this in some ways for over a year, and in other ways they've been doing exercises that kind of did the same thing for up to 2 or more years.
Oh, wow.
But the key thing is this: the actual operational planning really started a few weeks ago once the direction came from the president to do this kind of thing. So when they left Whiteman Air Force Base, they did it basically right after midnight on the 21st of June. And then they came through and struck the targets in Iran about 18 hours later,
so
18 hours and 19 hours later. And they hit the 3 sites that we've been talking about before. These are the ones that, of course, have become famous now: Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan.
Yeah, everybody knows
these
that.
are the ones that, of course, not only because they've been in the news, but because of what they had, became important from an operational perspective to actually eliminate. And that's why they had the kind of payload that they did on the B-2.
And there's been a lot of discussion about the Fordo facility in particular. And the Pentagon says they've obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. But Fordo in particular, how hard is that to penetrate?
So take a look at this right here, Manu. When you see the security perimeter right here, and then in just a second we'll get some more details here because you've got the support building and tunnel entrances.
So here you go, tunnel entrances. A majority, there's some infrastructure on top of the ground. You're looking at this map, this breakdown here. The rest of the facility is deep underground. So you got support buildings there over there. The centrifuges, they've built the primary capabilities below and inside of this mountain for extra cover. And then you got multiple tunnel entrances for troops and vehicles to get in.
This is way deep underground, almost 300 feet underground. So when you look at the layout of this...
I thought each bunker buster went 200 feet, and they dropped 12.
You've got those tunnel entrances that I talked about, that support building,
so
and this mountain
bunker buster can go roughly 200 feet. The facility is 300 feet.
Them doing what they need to do to,
I'm assuming that's the reason they drop multiples to keep hitting kind of the same impact point.
And what this looked like before June 20th,
to just keep hammering it until they got through.
Looked like from the satellite
the other option was a tactical nuke, and no one really wants to do that, because if we use nukes and everybody else is going, well, maybe it's open season. Maybe we start using some tactical ones as well. Fuck it, you know, like Russia wanting to do that in Ukraine.
Over here, now look, this is gone.
Wow.
This right here is also gone. So these are the kinds of things.
Oh my God!
The facilities up here.
Look, that was the facilities.
I didn't realize that.
As he swipes over,
here
it's dust.
Now look,
dirt.
It's not there anymore.
This is gone.
Wow.
Like literally fucking erased.
This right here is also gone.
Holy shit.
So these are the kinds of things that happen. And another thing that's really interesting about this, take a look. This is that support building that we showed earlier. Everything looks intact. These are the tunnel entrances.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look. When you go over here, you see that these tunnel entrances have been damaged beyond repair. There's what appears to be smoke damage right here at the support.
Well, here's what's so crazy about it. It's the fact that the explosions very clearly penetrated right here. There's no penetration holes anywhere in this area at all. So that means the explosion that happened here ended up collapsing the entire tunnel all the way over here. Do you see what I'm saying? That's a lot of power. Yeah.
And the other thing is, you guys might have seen this report, that there was like a 5.1 magnitude earthquake within very close to the region of where Fordo is located. And some people are guessing, was it the bombs we dropped? Did something explode underground, and or were they doing a test underground, a first initial test?
And you had collapses of
what they have and ended up creating something, or was it a natural phenomenon? And there was an earthquake in Iran, which you know, right? I mean, does happen. I don't know if it's regular, but it does happen.
This isn't a
but
conversation.
It was very close to the Fordo nuclear testing site. There's a lot of questions of what did cause that earthquake.
Why is there 3 holes? So they dropped 12 bunker buster bombs. Each B-2 bomber had 2 of them. So they probably dropped both of them at the same time, or maybe one. And then, you know, like they have like these, I'm assuming probably like, you know, laser fucking focus guidance systems. So one of them gets probably almost all the way in. And then the second one goes all the way in. 14 bombs? No, but no, I understand there's the 14 bombs. 12 of them were used on this site. 2 of them were used on another site. So only 12 were used here. There were 14 total, but only 12 were used. That's why you see 6
12
holes.
Were used on Fordo alone?
That they
struck. The idea calls here was to how we enforce
and to use it with multiple
defensively
bombs
that
so
Fordo
that they could go down deep enough.
And the question is, how much damage do they end up doing? Because it's pretty fortified.
The Pentagon says this thorough evaluation is still ongoing. And meantime, there's this concern, real concern about retaliation from the Iranians against.
And there has been a retaliation. I already did that earlier. They've launched against an American base.
The content president didn't have a camera there to record it. And I'm not even kidding. Like the fact that like they didn't have a drone over there to watch this shit happen, I'm kind of mad about.
That's true. All right, let's go
such as the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. So those are the kinds of things that our forces have to worry about from a.
So they're talking about Iran's tactical hit range right here. And it's all within the red zone where Iran can fire and they can hit targets. So it's all the way past Israel and out into these other, northern areas here. And these are the missiles. And each of the missiles, the Sejil is 2,000 kilometers. The Imad is 1,700. The Gahar is 2,000. The Shahab is 1,300 kilometers. And the Koramashayr is 2,000 kilometers. And the Sumar is another 2,000 kilometers. So this is their effective strike range. So Iran, are U.S. military bases in danger? Yes, that are in the surrounding area of, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, etc. That's why Qatar is closing their airspace currently. Obviously, Israel's in strike range. They've been hitting them. I'm going to be showing you the retaliation of Iran after the U.S.-Israeli strikes. But here's their effective range, which is really shit. Here in America, we're perfectly fine, other than whatever terror cells are here, which, whether we had taken action or not, terror cells in the United States are bad, and they were planning something at some point, whether we attacked or not. So they need to be rooted out and eliminated. But as far as Iran attacking us directly, as you can see here, they have no chance of that at all.
Force protection standpoint, but each one of these areas really makes it very clear that every single one.
So here you go. So from Iran, you've got Iraq in danger, Saudi Arabia, the outskirts of the UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Turkey. Iran is in a position in that zone that I showed you to hit all of these areas.
One of our troops is definitely within range, but that doesn't mean that they can't defend themselves. They will be able to defend themselves if the proper measures are taken. And
there's also the other component to this is that I don't think that Iraq and Saudi Arabia and Qatar necessarily want Iran bombing the U.S. embassy there or the U.S. military base there. Because, from their perspective, these are Iranian missiles and bombs going into their country.
Right.
So I haven't had anybody bring this up. I don't think anybody's brought this up at all. But there's a massive diplomatic problem there when Iran just starts indiscriminately shooting missiles into these other countries and being like, oh, well, we're just trying to hit the American base. I don't think that these other countries are just going to be like, oh, okay, understandable. We get that. Yeah, nobody.
Yeah,
said
you're firing into a military American base in Iraq. You fired missiles into Iraqi territory.
Threat environment.
Or you fired missiles into Saudi Arabia if you're choosing a diplomatic building. You're firing missiles into another country, which is an act of war against that country.
Sure seems like we made the right call there then.
Which I think it would be very odd if the other country was like, well, they're pissed at America, so they're firing at America, so we totally get it. Go ahead and keep invading our airspace with missiles. It's really no problem. We understand how upset you are.
I'm joined now by CNN national security analyst.
It would be very odd if that's the tack
so much for joining us. What kind of intelligence gathering is happening right now to ensure that the Pentagon's original assessment that had been made public, that these Iranian assets...
I'm really surprised that we haven't had any good videos of this. Because I feel like any time that any of these other bombings have happened, there's just been so many videos, and with this, it's there's nothing.
Obliterated is
the planes have got radar, and they're recording in the site where they drop the bombs. So I'm imagining that's classified at this point, and it's not necessarily been released to the public. But okay, we're going to move on here, and now this is Iran's retaliatory attacks for the American-Israeli attacks over the weekend. Here it is. That was yesterday morning, because they're ahead of us for time. Right now in the East Coast, it's 1:34 in the afternoon. So in Israel, Iran, it's nighttime at this point. They're farther ahead of us. So this was like Monday morning for them, while we were still in Sunday evening, and they launched retaliatory attacks. But I mean, I think about this for a minute, okay? Because they can't hit us. They can't really do much to us. So imagine I go and I punch Iran in the face. And they're like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm going to go punch Israel in the face. I'm like, all right, dude. But I understand what you're saying. Go ahead and punch your neighbor in the face. You can't do shit to me. So we can keep punching them in the face, and there's nothing that they can really do to us. They can hit our bases. Our bases obviously have their own defenses, plus the defenses of whatever country they're firing into are also coupled with that and intercepting missiles that are coming in. So we punch Iran in the face. Iran punches Israel in the face. I mean, for us, that's a pretty good deal. Them and their stupid ops. The name of their ops. You go back here now. It's as North Israel people were told to rush to bomb shelters. They shot down drones in. Where is it? It was okay. Operation, the latest missile strike, reportedly the 19th wave of True Promise the Third. These fucking Iranians and the stupid names they come up with. First, they flew the red flag of revenge. That was supposed to be a big deal. Then their first operation was like revenge against evil or something, or revenge against the attacker. I'm like, really original shit. It's like all of their ops have these stupid names. Like, now we've moved on to Operation You Fired on Us and we're very angry at you, therefore we're going to fire things back at you. These fucking morons and their stupid ops. So that's some of the damage that you're seeing in Israel right now. And that was attacks, that was retaliatory attacks against them. So what I want to get to here. So we're, just as a quick in-between right here, we're live streaming on YouTube, on Rumble, and on TikTok. This is the show's page on X. And I'm going to be getting to something here about how many Americans Iran has killed. I asked Grok about that because it was hard to put information together to see how many American lives and soldiers have been lost at the hands of Iran. But first, I wanted to get into the part of Maga Grifters being angry about what's happening here, and then so I can make my point. You've got the Hodge twins that have just been posting crap like crazy, going on about, why are we getting involved in this, man? Why are we getting involved in Iran? And we're just doing Israel's work, and we're doing all this other stuff. Two things can be true at once. One, we did get dragged into this by Israel. I believe that's the case. Israel attacked Iran, knowing that they weren't going to have enough. They have bunker busters of their own. They're not comparable to ours. I think they went in knowing that they would not be able to fully complete this action and that they would need America's help. So if they kind of charged in where angels fear to tread and started doing some of the dirty work, that America would then bat cleanup and take over here. And I think that with the way Trump has handled some things, as I started at the beginning of the show, I said, well, I'm going to make a decision in 2 weeks about what to do. And he launched the surprise attack with the stealth bombers in 1 week's time. So I do think that Trump and BB were working together. I don't think this was an accidental pull. I think that they were working together with this to make this thing happen. But either way, Israel got the ball rolling on this and ended up pulling us in because they didn't have the juice to whatever analogy works for you best. They didn't have the juice to finish the job, whereas we do. So they ended up pulling us in on that. Also, So you can be mad at Israel on that, and I hear all the talk from the Hodge twins and this idiot Owen Schroyer and others all going on about how Alex Jones even getting into this with the anti-Trump stuff, and calling us, shills for Israel. We're doing, what Israel tells us to jump, and we say how high. Iran has been an enemy of the world with its terrorist actions since the regime change, the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and the Ayatollah and their radical religious regime took over. And totally, Iran were allies before 1979. The Shah was working with us. We worked hand in hand with the things that were going on when the Shah was in power in the 70s through 78. When the Iranian Revolution happened and the Ayatollah was exiled at that time for his teachings of radical Islam. He was exiled living in another country. And he orchestrated a revolution and wormed his way back in. And that's what ended up completely shifting the dynamic of Iran to becoming a terroristic regime. And then funding Hamas, funding Hezbollah. I'll read you something that I asked Grok. I said, how many Americans has Iran killed? Grok AI responded, estimating the number of Americans killed by Iran is complex as it involves direct actions, proxy groups, and varying attributions over decades. Below is a breakdown based on available data, primarily from U.S. government sources and credible reports, focusing on key incidents and periods. I'll aim for clarity and precision, noting where uncertainty exists. So first one he does, 1983 Beirut bombings. That was Hezbollah, who is backed by Iran. The U.S. Embassy bombing, April 1983. 63 people killed, 17 Americans. Hezbollah, supported by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, was responsible. We just hit the IRGC. So no tears shed for those scumbags. They killed Americans. Let's go on. Marine barracks bombing, October 1983, killed 241 U.S. service members, mostly Marines. Iran's role via Hezbollah, widely acknowledged, with a 2023 Iranian official admitting involvement. So Hezbollah, that works out of Jordan, involved in killing 241 U.S. service members. Total for 1983, 258 Americans dead. 17 in the first attack, 241 in the second. 1996 Khobar Towers bombing, Saudi Arabia, killed 19 U.S. service members, attributed to Saudi Hezbollah with Iranian support. Total, 19 Americans dead. The Iran-Iraq War and related incidents, 1980s, limited direct U.S. casualties, but Iran's mining of the Persian Gulf led to Operation Praying Mantis, 1988. No significant U.S. deaths directly tied to Iran here, though USS Vincennes mistakenly shot down Iranian Air Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. Total negligible direct American deaths. Operation Iraqi Freedom, 2003 to 2011. The Pentagon's 2019 estimate attributes at least 603 U.S. personnel deaths to Iranian-backed militias, primarily via explosively formed penetrators, EFPs, supplied by the IRGC's the Quds forces. This accounts for 17% of U.S. combat fatalities in Iraq. Earlier estimates cited around 500 deaths, with 196 specifically from EPPs. A 2007 report noted IEDs, including EFPs, killed or wounded 21,200 Americans, but not are all directly attributable to Iran. Well, how many are too much? Total, 603 Americans, conservative Pentagon estimate. Afghanistan, 2001 to 2021. Iran supported Taliban and al-Qaeda subgroups with weapons, training, and safe havens, contributing to U.S. casualties. A 2022 legal case highlighted 30 U.S. personnel killed or injured by Iranian-backed actors, but exact death tolls are not well documented. Likely dozens, but the total is likely dozens, but precise numbers are classified or unconfirmed. Recent proxy attacks, 2020 to 2025. 2020 Ain al-Assad missile strike, Iran claimed 80 U.S. troops killed, but the U.S. reported no deaths, only traumatic brain injuries. You might have remembered hearing that one on the news. So they were boasting that they had killed 80, but we came out with a report saying that people were badly injured but weren't killed. 2024 Jordan drone attack, Tower 22, killed 3 U.S. troops attributed to Iran-backed militias in Syria and Iraq. Other attacks, over 150 attacks on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria since October 2023, with at least 70 casualties, mostly non-fatal. Total, 3 Americans confirmed dead. Other incidents, the Robert Levinson FBI agent, kidnapped in Iran in 2007, presumed dead in custody by 2020. Historical incidents. During Iran's 1909 constitutional revolution, American Howard Baskerville was killed fighting with the militias, and another American was killed in 1911. So we're going back quite a bit there, possibly by Russian-British affiliated gunmen, not directly to Iran. So just look at all the deaths of Americans and American troops during this time. And you've got assholes like the Hodge twins saying, why are we doing this? None of us voted for regime change wars, but your favorite influencers are too chicken shit to call out what's happening because their entire living revolves around bootlicking for Trump. That's the real grift. No, you motherfuckers turning on your followers. And the people of America, you're the fucking grifters. No one called for regime change. If these idiots paid attention to what was going on, no one called for regime change for this. They said if regime change happens as a byproduct of the attacks, that's good for all of the Iranian people. The Iranian people are innocent. If they are able to take back control of their government because this radical regime ends up falling as a result of the American-Israeli attacks, that's a win for the people of Iran. This was not purposefully started as a regime change. It started as taking out their nuclear capabilities because they were making too much progress. The regime change is a potential happy accident byproduct that could happen. And if it does, great for them. Because maybe Iran can become an ally and become a participator on the world stage instead of being state-funded terror. So, but these morons don't get it. You all remember 2 weeks ago when the U.S. said we're not getting involved in Israel's war? Trump was bullshitting them. He was stringing them along until they were ready to attack. He was working with Israel on this. Pray this war doesn't escalate anymore. I mean, it's... And this idiot, Owen Schroyer, first they told us Iran was so advanced that they had nukes and could hit America with them. Now they're saying Iran is weak and not the advanced and can't hit the United States, so don't worry about it. I can't believe people fall for this. No one was really saying that. They didn't say they'd have nukes that could hit the United States. What they were talking about was refining enough to make small portable weapons that could be brought over to the United States. That is what people are talking about when they mention this. Not that they can... I showed you the Iran's zone of coverage for firing missiles. They cannot reach the United States from Iran. But what this moron fails to, a lack of imagination on his part, is Iran coming up with a portable explosive nuclear device that can be transferred to the United States by a terrorist group and used here in the exploded right here in the United States. You don't have to fire a thing. That's what officials are talking about when they're talking about they had the nukes that could be used on Iran. This moron's talking about it like a missile can be fired from Iran and hit America. No, it cannot. But if they make enough progress with these, they can get the material to the United States and then use it in a terror attack on a major city. We avoid that by taking the actions that President Trump is doing right now. But none of these people have any farsight about being proactive in dealing with a problem, eliminating a problem before it becomes a problem. But Candace Owens, who's gone full nut job anti-Semite, ever since she got fired by the Daily Wire and got into fights with Ben Shapiro, I mean, she just hates Jews. Jews have caused every problem on the entire planet. It doesn't matter what you are. The Jews did 9/11. The Jews blew up this building, and the Jews took out that ship and this ship, and she's out of her fucking mind. So she's gone from being a conservative who supported Trump again to flipping on her base. And the important thing about this is, look at this on her X page, 6.9 million followers that she doesn't deserve. In the meantime, you've got small accounts like my own that are struggling just to get 1/4 of the viewer base that these nut jobs have, where what do? They sell their fucking shirts and hawk their crap on people, then turn around and turn on them with this dumb shit. And Candace Owens, too, being a raging anti-Semite blame. How can you come to the defense of a terrorist nation? Explain that to me. Their argument is, we should have left Iran alone, minded our own business, and done our own thing. Now, bear in mind, I just read to you how many Americans have been killed by Iran. I had Gronk break it all down. Candace Owens, the Hodge twins, Owen Schroyer, and others are saying, don't worry about that. It's not that big of a deal. Just leave Iran alone. They haven't done anything to us. It's not our problem. Aside from all of the Americans they've killed, they haven't done anything to us. And they're trying to make a nuclear weapon that they would love to use against us and Israel. But no one can understand why we're involved in this attack on Iran. It doesn't make any sense. It literally just came out of the blue. And they fail to even acknowledge and look back at everything that we have been dealing with Iran for over 40 years. I don't understand why we're getting involved. I mean, one day we just flicked a switch and now we're upset at Israel. No, we've been dealing with these terrorist assholes for over 40 years. We seize their money of illegal funds and all of their stuff they do around the world, or oil sales or something, and we get our hands on it and we seize it. And then we go into bullshit negotiations with them. And then when they're good little boys and girls, we go, oh, okay, here you go, you can have your money back. And then we unseize their money, give it back to them, millions upon millions, if not billions of dollars. They turn around, buy missiles, weapons, and fund their terrorist proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah, who then turn around and attack and murder innocent people. But no one seems to understand why we're involved in attacking Iran. None of these morons can figure it out. In fact, they're doing the exact opposite. I mean, they're advocating to leave Iran alone. You claim you're a conservative who's pro-American, and your message to everybody is, leave a terrorist regime alone that has killed hundreds of Americans. That is your response to Trump's actions in hitting a dangerous regime. We're not hurting the people of Iran. We're taking out nuclear sites and military bases, military targets. But leave poor Iran alone? You call yourself, well, I want America first. I don't want anything to be involved. I don't want to be involved in any way, shape, or form. Okay, I get that, but they have also killed hundreds of Americans. What your response is, no harm, no foul. It's all good. It didn't happen on American soil, so it's a technicality. It's just a yellow flag. It's not a full penalty. I mean, how much is too much? How many dead Americans are too much that are killed by another country? We should have cut these motherfuckers off completely and hit them a long time ago. But it's come to this point where Trump has decided, I'm done negotiating and playing games with these people, going round and round in circles. We negotiate. You bullshit us. You hide how much progress you're making. We go back to the negotiating table once again and go, you're being bad boys and girls. Stop doing that. Okay, we'll play along now, and we'll play along by the rules of the JPOC bullshit. Okay, we'll unseize all of your money so you can go ahead and use it for terrorism again. Cool. See you in a couple of months when you fuck up and bullshit us, and we sit down at the negotiating table again. Now, how about fuck the negotiating table? Fuck the negotiations. How about we hit all your nuclear sites and we just take away every bargaining chip that you have? And when your nuclear sites are gone and the most of your regime has been taken out, we'll go ahead and sit and talk about terms. We'll talk about terms of your surrender. Because you didn't want to play ball, you wanted to play games. And I'm just and kudos to Laura Loomer that is fucking calling out these fucking scumbags See, you see Candace Owens, Alex Jones, and even I like Tucker. I like Tucker and I like Alec. Candace has lost her goddamn mind. You know, I'm not an absolutionist. Like I'm no longer going to support them or do anything, but I'm disappointed with Alex's flip on this. I'm disappointed with Tucker's flip on this too. I understand that they're pro-America first guys. I get that. So it's why don't we just not stick our nose in it and not have anything to do with it at all? Let Israel do it all. And yeah, you can do that, but Israel doesn't have the full resources to cripple Iran. So the job's only going to get half done or a quarter done. If we step in, it gets all the way done. And we take away a regime that's not only a thorn in Israel's side. Israel's doing their own thing for their own reasons. That's cool. But also, we're doing it for ours as well. Hold on a second here. I got to fix something with stupid TikTok. I don't know. When you go for a while, it makes you verify or go through some bullshit. So we're good now. So I'm disappointed about that. There's America first, and then there's things that end up being down the road beneficial to the United States of America, right? Taking out, if you look forward, taking out a horrible regime that funds terror all around the Middle East and the world ends up being a net benefit for the United States. So this isn't us, jumping when Israel tells us to jump. This is taking an action that ends up benefiting the United States as well. And if an ally is already going in and doing the heavy lifting, why not go bat cleanup? I don't see why someone did this idiot Owen Schroyer in an Iranian outfit. Yeah, 'cause these morons are going out and defending Iran. Well, leave Iran, but you if you say you're not defending Iran, but you're the guy who says leave Iran alone, don't do anything, we should just mind our own business. You are roundabout defending Iran. Leave them alone to develop nuclear weapons. Leave them alone to fund terrorism. Leave them alone to do this, to abuse their people and take the horrible actions they do against their own citizens. That's what you're advocating for when you say leave Iran alone and stop doing what you're doing. That's what Candace Owens, the Hodge twins, Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones, and everybody else are saying. Leave them alone. That was Trump in the Situation Room. I always love the Babylon Bee. Toby Keith smiling down from heaven as Iran gets bombed. I wanted to see, there's Candace Owens losing her goddamn mind. He's betraying his campaign promises. This is not war. It's a conflict. And all we're doing is hitting some military bases. By the way, Obama did this when he was in office. If anyone recalls any of this at all, let's look at what Obama, and I didn't hear any of them bitching about it at that time when he was doing, maybe they did. I don't know. I didn't follow them. But look, here's the war-ending president who, as of Tuesday, has ordered airstrikes. This is going back in time here, in 7 different countries that we know of. This is what year, when did they do this? September the 23rd, 2014. President Barack Obama has always acknowledged that there are times when military force is necessary. Even when he accepted his Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, he said there could be instances where war is morally justified. But though he campaigned for the presidency on ending U.S.-led wars, same thing they're accusing Trump of, Obama's administration has certainly been willing to use force when it sees fit. By the way, this is CNN for clarification. Afghanistan, America's longest war, became Obama's responsibility when he took office in 2009, and like his predecessor, he has ordered airstrikes against suspected militant targets in the country. The air campaign, which has utilized both manned aircraft and unmanned drones, has been a major sticking point between the U.S. and the local government, which has decried the high civilian death toll. In May, Obama announced a plan to withdraw most American forces from Afghanistan by the end of this year, leaving behind a force of about 10,000 to maintain security and train Afghan forces, with a new Afghan president finally confirmed. U.S. officials expect the long-awaited bilateral security agreement to be signed soon, permitting the residual U.S. force. Pakistan. Like in Afghanistan, militants have been targeted by U.S. drones flying over Pakistan, causing similar uproar when they strike civilians rather than suspected Taliban outposts. Obama acknowledged that concern during a major speech at the National Defense University in 2013, saying the U.S. strikes that kill civilians could have the effect of spurring radicalization. Now let's go to Libya. I think everyone remembers this big one where he took out Muammar Gaddafi. In March 2011, Obama announced the U.S. would join allied nations to launch airstrikes on Libya. The move came after a UN Security Council, not our Congress, not NATO, UN Security Council resolution authorizing use of force to protect Libyan civilians. By the way, we don't need the UN's permission to go in and do anything. And though regime change wasn't Obama's stated goal at the beginning of the campaign, the airstrikes ended with the death of longtime Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. There you go. Obama ended up affecting regime change in Libya, and no one was crying about it that the dictator leader of Libya got taken out. So now the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, and the others have all got a problem with the potential that there could be regime change when Obama accidentally did it in Libya in 2011. How about Yemen? Facing threats from al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, the Obama administration significantly ramped up the use of armed drones. Nearly 100 attacks have occurred since 2009, according to estimates from the New American Foundation, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of militants but also many civilians. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and Yemen has been a nexus of threats against the U.S., including the so-called underwear bomber who tried to ignite explosives on a U.S.-bound airliner in 2009. Somalia. U.S. drones have targeted militants associated with al-Shabaab, a terrorist network group that perpetrated high-profile attack last year at a mall in Kenya. Earlier that month, the U.S. targeted the group's leader, Ahmed Godane, using commandos aided by drones, killing him in an area south of Mogadishu. And we're pissing and moaning about Trump trying to take out nuclear facilities? I just read a whole bunch of shit that Obama did while he was in office, including killing the leader of Libya. Iraq. Citing a humanitarian crisis and potential threats to American interests, Obama ordered airstrikes to begin in Iraq in August, becoming the fourth president in a row to order airstrikes there. The Iraqi government, outmatched by ISIS fighters taking over broad swaths of land, welcomed the strikes. The campaign broadened in September when Obama announced he would begin targeting ISIS. Specifically, instead of seeking specific authorization from lawmakers, Obama said he would rely on a congressional authorization from 2011 that allowed the president to go after al-Qaeda, bypassed Congress, and just took his actions in Iraq and did what he needed to do. Syria. Obama's latest front for airstrikes has been gripped by civil war for more than 3 years. Obama came to the brink of ordering airstrikes in 2013 after Syrian President Bashar al-Assad used chemical weapons on civilians. But after Congress balked, Obama backed away, brokering instead a deal to rid al-Assad of his chemical stockpiles. But he was prepared to go in at that time. A year later, facing a different threat in Syria in the form of ISIS and the al-Qaeda offshoot Khorasan, Obama authorized airstrikes on terrorist targets alongside a coalition of other Arab states. Officials say the mission to defeat those groups won't be won in a day. Instead, they're predicting a sustained effort that will surely be left for the next commander-in-chief to carry forward. So, for everyone that wants to piss and moan about what Trump is doing, every other president up to this point has stepped in to take actions that ended up toppling a bad regime that's currently in charge, right? Muammar Gaddafi wasn't doing anything good for his people. These other dictators weren't doing anything good for their people. But now you've got quote-unquote conservative content creators telling you attacking Iran is bad and we're very mad at Trump. There's a fracture with MAGA now. And one part of MAGA, the no-war MAGA is going this way, and the pro-war MAGA is going that way. No, you fucking grifters are going this way. The ones that use MAGA to your own benefit to line your own pockets. And now you're turning on the very guy that made you all the money that you made, that gave you the support base you currently have. You've turned your back and you've turned into traitors. Other than that, you would just be on your show bitching about Democrats and what they're doing and how they're in charge and fucking up the nation. Trump is trying to take out a pro-terrorist regime that has killed Americans. And these grifters are turning on him with some of the excuse, oh, you guys will kiss Trump's ass no matter what he does. No, I've been critical of the president. I've been critical of him when Qatar was offering him an airplane. I've been critical of other decisions that he's made. You can go to my past episodes and watch my show. I've said, me being critical of the president and saying something doesn't mean that I'm getting off the bandwagon. I'm sharing my thoughts as a tax-paying citizen and as one of his voters too, that I'm not a blind follower, that I can have a problem with some of the things that he does. But you take an event that he's doing right now that is going to help make America safer on the flip side of all of this by cutting off the legs of a terrorist regime. And all of these grifters are going, nope, we shouldn't have gotten involved. We shouldn't have done that. We should have just left them all alone so they could finish making the nukes. And then they could do whatever they wanted after that. But your hope is they will mind their own business. Well, if wishes were horses, we'd be knee-deep in shit. Anyone ever heard that saying? So, I fuck these guys. Fuck Candace and Owen Schroyer and the Hodge twins. If you guys don't have any foresight to see how this can be beneficial to the United States, and the only way they're seeing it is we're sucking Israel's dick. That's all it is. That's all they can see. And with zero benefit for the United States of America. So taking the legs out from a terrorist nation is zero benefit for the United States of America. I mean, it's just crazy to me. So shame on them. They don't deserve the large platform that they have. I see people leaving them and unfollowing them. I mean, and that's smart. That's the right thing to do. If you're going to turn on your followers, if you're going to change your message to I'm pro-Trump, I love what he's doing, to, oh, this is fucking stupid and I don't support any of this, and like this fuck Trump type of attitude, you don't deserve the base you have. You don't deserve the money that you're having. You turned on all of your followers. You turned on all of your people. You were never really MAGA. You were never really America first. Because the things that benefit America, actions like this, is America first. If we do the dirty work for another country that does nothing for us whatsoever, then you can be upset about that. I'll be right there with you. But in actions that will end up benefiting the United States as well, you're off the rails with this one. And shame on all of them, and they deserve all of the backlash that they're getting online for saying some of this shit. They don't understand the score. They don't understand how all of this works. I mean, if you're going to get into politics, then understand how all of this works. Understand how we got here. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start 2 weeks ago. It started over 40 years ago. Now look at that and look at what we're being put through with all of it, and then rethink what you're talking about and make your decision. And by the way, to clarify, I've said this on my show. One, I don't want any boots on the ground whatsoever. It's a bad move, and it gets our American servicemen and women in harm's way. And two, the Iranian people should not end up coming to harm. This should be military bases and nuclear facilities struck only. That's it. After that, the conversation of regime change, it has to be put in the hands of the Iranian people. They have to figure it out after the fact. Do they want to step forward and put better leadership in that helps their own people? Or do they not, and they want to leave the remnants of the Ayatollah to take over that country? That will be their choice. It's not regime change. They've made too much progress with it, and they don't want the nuclear power so they can become a Green New Deal country. And I love the Iranian ambassador talking about they're attacking our peaceful and innocent nuclear operations. It's like me saying everyone attacked my very peaceful tank that was minding its own business. And no, I definitely wasn't going to shoot anyone with that tank. It's a very peaceful tank. It's fucking ridiculous. They were going way over the need to make a nuclear facility to help give them free energy or move their society to a more enlightened degree. That's not what they were working on it for. They were refining it far too much, and that was to weaponize it. And then he talks about their peaceful nuclear sites. There's nothing peaceful about a nuclear site. So of course they're working towards this end. Of course they're trying to create nuclear weapons, and then God knows what they do with them when they get them. That's the concern Israel has. That's the concern we have. Right? All these other conservatives and everything else were all losing their damn minds because if Russia takes over Ukraine, they'll move on Poland and they'll move on NATO. So they're concerned about that, but they're not concerned about Iran, who is going to have a nuke. Russia already has nukes and hasn't used them once. Not even a tactical nuke on the field of battle. Nothing. They're playing, even though they're a dictatorship and Putin's a dictator, they're playing by the rules and not utilizing any of that. Does anyone believe Iran would play by the rules? Either by making a mobile one that they could send to any country they want with a terrorist cell sneaking it into a country, or making a missile that they can fire on any one of their Middle East neighbors. Does anyone believe that Iran would play by the same rules that Russia is right now? I mean, Russia has just randomly decided to essentially invade another country, and even they are smart enough to play by the rules and not use nukes. Right? And every other country on the planet. China and every other one that you would go, I don't fucking trust China as far as I could throw it. But they still don't use it against anyone. North Korea is out of their goddamn minds. They fire test missiles into the ocean all the time, but they haven't fired on South Korea and they haven't attempted to fire at anyone else because they know the deal. They know what's going to happen as soon as they make a move. I don't think Iran knows that. I don't think Iran cares. I think as soon as it gets them, it not only wants to use them as a deterrent so everyone will leave them alone and they can do whatever they want. You also can't trust them to have it. Because their hate for their enemies is at such a religious radical level that your doctrine tells you if you can take action, you must. So, of course, if they got something, they would launch on other countries. Or they would make it available to terrorist groups that would sneak that into areas and then set off a smaller tactical size one in a major city somewhere. And by then, all the whining and moaning of these idiots that said, leave Iran alone, what have they ever done to you, will already be too late. You can be mad at a Candace Owens and a Hodge twins all you want, but it's going to be after your city was blown up. Then it's too late. So taking this preemptive action is a benefit for the United States of America. So no, it isn't doing the bidding of Israel. It's having our cake and eating it too. By the way, Israel was already doing the heavy lifting. Who's getting bombed right now? Israel. Who's getting hit with the retaliatory strikes from Iran as a result of this action? Israel. I used the analogy before. We punch Iran in the face. Iran turns around and punches Israel in the face. We're perfectly fine. Brushing it off our shoulders, there's no problem. Right? So Israel is taking the brunt of everything right now, and we're just cleaning up. We're just doing our outside part with pilots that are at as minimum risk as absolutely possible because they're dropping bombs from however many feet. No boots on the ground at all. Israel's got Mossad on the ground. Their agents are at risk. Israel is flying sorties over Iran and started doing this. All of them are at risk. And now their cities are at risk because they're getting bombed. I notice precisely 0 American cities have been bombed at this point by Iran and continue to be under no danger whatsoever from being missiles from Iran. The only thing we have to worry about is the terrorist cells that are already in the United States. And before we took this action, I will note to you that it's very bad that their terrorist cells are already in the United States. And the deal should not be, well, if America minds its own business and leaves Iran alone, we won't activate our terrorist cells in America. That's not how running your country works. You can't threaten us with a bunch of assholes with a dirty bomb and a couple of AK-47s and tell an entire nation to mind its own business over your own because you snuck terrorists into that nation. That's not the way you can't dictate politics that way. We're going to take whatever actions we need to take, and we're also going to flush out these terrorists that are in America, and we're going to eliminate it because that already needed to be done before this happened. So for all of these fucking grifters, they need to take their heads out of their asses and wake up. That's all I have to say for them. And it's they right now they don't deserve the following that they have. They've got, I don't know how many follow their show, but they've got 3.3 million followers. They don't deserve that right now. She's got 6.9. She's completely lost her fucking mind. She doesn't deserve that either. And shame on them for essentially being, in my opinion, fake MAGA with these stupid arguments. All right. So we've gone for about an hour now. I hadn't done a shitbag roundup in a little bit. So let's, what are you saying? Go see the updated satellite photos. What is that in response to? I don't know what that means. Coffee on my shirt. See what satellite photos in regards to what? Just for everybody, I'm on multicasting on YouTube, on Rumble, and on TikTok Live as well to do the show. I don't know I just wanted to see what they were saying about the satellite images of what we did or didn't hit. Yeah, we did. I did it earlier in the show. I don't think Fordo has been destroyed. But I believe Natan and the other one were hit. Now, is it possible that they weren't completely destroyed? Yeah, that's possible. I can say that Fordo is probably the one holdout that is still going. But America did hit 3 of their nuclear sites. So the only thing that's going to be in question is, now I believe America is claiming that at least 2 of the sites have been completely destroyed. That's the Natanz and the other one whose name I can't remember. I did it earlier in the show, and I showed him on the map one of the sites. Let's give me 1 second here. So let's take a look at the nuclear sites, and I want to get the exact names here. This is Fordo. This one that's in the mountains right here. This is Fordo. This is the most heavily fortified one. It's 300 feet underground with reinforced bunker-resistant cement that was used to build the facility. It's spread out between a very large area underneath this mountain range. It's possible that has still survived. America dropped 12 bunker busters on this location. So we don't have confirmation that Fordo has been taken out. That is their largest nuclear site. There's the Natanz enrichment facility. Israel destroyed the above-ground part of the facility, according to the UN's nuclear watchdog, but that was initially with their strikes. We hit it additionally after that. And Fordo, obviously, as I just went over, is their most heavily enforced. And the Isfahan. Isfahan was hit by us as well. I think we had 2 other bunker busters that were sent. Isfahan and Natanz might have gotten 1 each from our bombers. Now, I don't know that we have a confirmation that Isfahan and Natanz were completely destroyed, but they are not as reinforced as Fordo is. So my bet here at the minimum is Isfahan and Natanz have suffered serious damage, if not being completely destroyed. So, Maddie saying we took out all three is, we don't have enough information to know if it was 100% accurate. I would believe that Natanz and Isfahan could have been taken out. I have some doubts about Fordo, and we need updates. We haven't gotten enough updates. After we hit Fordo, I believe Israel has flown in and hit it a couple more additional times. So Fordo is taking an absolute beating at this point. That's the one. Fordo is the one that is underneath the missile range, and the primary focus is Fordo. So the other ones could have suffered serious damage, and they may no longer be functional. That's a possibility, because again, I don't believe that they were not as reinforced as Fordo. Fordo is the one that's going to be in question. All right, guys, so I'm going to wrap the show up for here. We've gone for about an hour and 14 minutes. Thanks for all the new followers and subscribers. I appreciate everyone that's following and supporting the show. This was the Shitbag Roundup and the MAGA traders and MAGA backturners that are grifters that are deciding to change how they're doing things. It's a real disappointment. So thanks everyone, and I do updates throughout the entire week, so I'll keep you guys going with, the most recent update after America's attacks was Iran ended up launching a missile attack against an American base in the Middle East, but they did not specify the base that was hit. The closest ones to Iran was a base in Iraq and a base in Kuwait, and either one of those could have been hit. I'm not getting any reports of casualties at this time. It's possible that the missiles were intercepted. So I'll give you guys more updates throughout the week as this breaks down and we see the political fallout. I know the Iranian ambassador is flying to Moscow to, I believe, beg Russia for help. And we'll see politically how this all breaks down. All right, thanks, everyone, and we'll talk to you all again soon.